George,
Hey.
come on in.
Cheers.
Good to
Hey.
see you.
Thanks.
Good to see you. Have a seat. I got you some water. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine, thanks.
Need anything else? Tea or coffee? Happy with
No,
water.
Cheers.
Good. So how you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you feel about this conversation that we need to have?
Well, a bit worried about it, of course, because I don't know if I'm going to get fired. I don't know if, obviously, I've been away a bit and I get that, and I gather that's what this is about attendance and everything, but so just not been very well, flus and viruses and bits.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, perhaps if I start by letting you know that you're not here to lose your job. That's quite a big thing that we tackle first, because if it's in between us, we can't probably have a very easy conversation, because I would imagine that feels quite worrying if that's what you think you're here for.
Definitely. Thanks for that.
You're not here. It's not my purpose or intention. You've been with the organisation some time, and you're really valued. You're a great member of the team and a huge contributor to the business. But there are some attendance issues that I just want us to go through today, because they've probably got to a point where they are higher than we can manage, and we need to, between us, work out what can we do with that information, what changes can we make. And I do mean between us, because this is a partnership. A contract, an employment contract at least, is one person in exchange for something else. There's a two-way give and take here, and I want that principle to apply to this conversation today. It really matters to us that we find a way to have you here, because you're valuable.
Well, thanks.
And as I say, if you want to take a break at any time, not a problem. Let's start with just having a look at the sickness record. You just mentioned there, there's been some ill health. So talk to me a little bit about what's been going on for you and what's behind some of this pattern.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a run of it really. Just one thing after another, colds, and I had a viral infection which made it, just not very nice, ready to be around, and I needed, to a bit of time off for that, and
Well, it happens, right? There can be little spells and periods where we seem to pick up everything going, weather, immune system, etc. can cause that. I suppose what I want to do is strike the balance between understanding that, but also talking to you about the fact that the organisation needs to see a significant improvement in attendance. Because at the moment the pattern is heading towards a position that's untenable. So we've got to find a way to bring it down between us. It's quite important. Because we need you here. There's the team needs you. There's a whole load of projects that are really dependent on your skill and expertise. So that's
and
important.
I want to be here, I genuinely want to be here. You've been straightforward with me, I'll be straight with you. It felt a little bit, before, like you weren't, not believing what I'm saying. And that's a bit like, I don't know where I stand with that, because if I'm ill, I'm ill.
I understand that. I'm not doubting the genuine nature of the absences. What I am saying is that the level of non-attendance is starting to become a problem. Other people are starting to notice, and we need to manage that together to make sure that you're here as much as is needed, that the business can run as it needs to, but also that you're taking good care of you, because you can't do what you need to do in the world if you're not well. So what are you doing in your own space to, as you rightly said, take care of your health and make sure that it's improving? What sort of strategies have you started to put in place around that? Sleep, nutrition. Have you seen the GP? What kind of advice have you been getting?
I've been, obviously, I haven't been seeing the GP every time I don't come into work, but obviously good luck with that. But just the usual thing. I had a flu jab this winter. Trying to, I've got a young daughter, so obviously, there's you don't always get the sleep you always need, but I've been generally taking reasonable health, as much as anyone does.
Okay. Talk to me about how things are at home. You've mentioned your daughter a couple of times and sleep, and how are things?
There's one or two things going on.
Okay. So that's looking and feeling like it's a bit tough right now. What impact's that having on you?
Just been a sort of a period of readjustment, and it's been sort of has had an impact definitely on things at home and how things are there.
Okay. That's big stuff.
Mm.
So what can you help me understand? I'm not here to pry, and you don't need to share your entire world with me, but what can you share with me that would help us understand this better and perhaps work together?
I mean, basically, my partner and I, we've separated, and so, it has an impact on my daughter's life, and sometimes she's with me and sometimes she's not. And obviously, sometimes that's easy and sometimes that's not.
So it sounds like there's a lot going on for you right now, and whilst I don't have a magic wand to change that, and nor would you be looking for that, I am keen that we can play our part to supporting you through this, because you will work out a new normal. It's just getting there. There's no shame in getting some support when you need it. Any of us need it. Life is not this sort of smooth journey. We kind of all go through it, and I want this to be part of that support network. How can we work with you? Whilst I can't say, oh, you know what, George, just, take as long as you like. I can't do that, but that doesn't mean there aren't another range of options for us to take a look at, for example. So there's something called dependence leave. Now, don't get too excited about it because it's not paid leave, but it is there for you to use for emergency cover should you need it. I think the other thing that might be worth just talking about is flexible working. So flexible working is a broad canvas, and you absolutely could apply for it. There's no guarantee of you getting it, but there's more likelihood of getting it if we can come to some agreement that's going to work for both of us. And what is it? Well, it's a range of things. For some people, it's can I start later because I need to drop the kids, and I'll work a bit later because someone else can pick them up.
Okay, yeah.
Or can I start a bit later, shorten my lunch break, leave the same time, or start early, finish early, etc. Those kind of patterns. But it does also include part-time working and other arrangements of moving your hours and spreading them. Now, clearly, if it's part-time working or you reduce your contracted hours, then your pay is prorated accordingly. But there's some choices in here that kind of says, where's the change in expenditure, where's the priority of time, what's manageable, so on and so forth. And I think what I'd like to do is give you some space to think about it, actually. What are the right options for you, for Grace, for your ex-partner? Because I guess the jigsaw still has to fit to the best way possible. I think one of the other things I'd like to suggest, and it's really, again, in service of us finding the best solutions, is that we organise for you to see occupational health. What's really important is that we get solid medical advice. The thing I'm really pleased about is that, one, you've been to see the GP, so you're taking control of your own health. This I'm really pleased about, that you've made a choice to be open with me, and we can now have this kind of fruitful conversation. But what occupational health will do is they'll fill the space where they have medical experience and expertise and an understanding of the business in your role. So they will talk to you either on the telephone or meet you in person. They'll only know what you choose to share with them, so you don't need to be concerned. Strictly confidential, protected from medical confidentiality. And through that conversation, they'll start to shape what kind of support could be useful for you, either in the immediate, mid or longer term here in the organisation.
Right.
And they may make some recommendations for us to consider. You know, if we could change this or we could change that, and it might be flexible working is one of them,
Right.
then that would really enable you to feel stronger, faster.
Okay.
We can't always guarantee to do everything they recommend, but given what you've told me today and the kind of environment we work in, I'd be hopeful we could certainly work with the information they give us and come up with a wellness plan that's going to enable us to make some changes and review, do some checks and balances, and see how you go. So it's something I think that would be useful for you and I. No one else is going to see it, but useful for you and I to work with.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not great at asking for help, but I think you know, from where we started this chat today, you know, today I feel, you know, it's been quite useful for me to sort of, you know, let you into the loop on what's happening, and I feel it's you know, there's more positives out of this than negatives, you know, in terms of getting it out there a bit, you know.
And I feel a bit like you. I feel kind of better for us having had the conversation. You know, as I said, it's a two-way thing. So I don't want you feeling, well, you know, the upper hand's here and you were on the receiving end. I wanted us to find some space, and so I'm really grateful you've shared with me and we can work with it. Well, look, what I think we'll do then is before the day's out, I'll send you the dependent leave policy, the flexible working policy, and the referral consent form for occupational health. I'll then get that organised pretty quickly, I think, because I'd quite like us to regroup within the week once you've had a chance to review the policies, have a think about what's going to work for you and your responsibilities with Grace, and then I'm quite sure we've got the brain power between us to come up with a plan.
Yeah, definitely, sure. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the first and only person that this has happened to, and you know, and I don't think it's a long-term thing. I think it's just I need to get, you know, over this period of time. Yeah, great.
Is there anything else you need from me today?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm mindful it won't be long before you need to be going to get that little poppet of yours. So I'll do that, and then you do your part, and we'll regroup. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
All right.
Okay.
Great.